and how to balance.
Okay.
All right, we laugh. Okay, let me remove. Why is this acting up when we're live? Okay, we're live. Hello, everyone. Happy today to you. Dr. Levinton here. We help people live long and well because we believe the quality of life is just as important as the quantity of life. If you watch life, if you're watching live, hashtag live. If you're watching replay, hashtag replay. Sorry, it's been a day, so bear with me and the voice is a little raspy. But we're going to talk about high blood pressure today. It's a topic that's near and dear to my heart, a very common condition. And we'll be answering questions live today. I know a lot of people have shown interest in this. What can I do? How can I lower blood pressure without medications? And I'm happy to have a repeat guest on. I always like having you on because you keep it real, you tell us practical stuff, and you live out what you say. So, you're an example to me and to people who are watching. So good to have you on again, Dr. Amanda Adkins.
Thank you for having me. I love coming back and talking with you each and every time. It's so fun.
Awesome. Now, for those who don't know Dr. Amanda Atkins, she is a double board certified internal medicine doctor. She's also a lifestyle medicine physician, and she's a health strategist and owner of Enlightenment Health and Wealth. She's big on using um, lifestyle measures, natural means, and God ordained treatments, I would say, to help women prevent and reverse chronic illnesses, including diabetes, high blood pressure, and heart disease. So she's a very good guest to have on to discuss this. Now, that being said, Doc, can you introduce yourself again? I already introduced you a little bit, but tell us more about who you are, what you do, and why you do the things that you do, Doc.
Yes. So, like you said, I'm internal medicine and lifestyle medicine, and I wanted to be a doctor since I was like 12 years old. But it actually, lifestyle medicine came on later, but it's been a part of my journey for decades because I was an obese teenager. I weighed 199 pounds as a 14-year-old girl. And at that time, I believe that the Lord was taking me through a journey to actually bring me to lifestyle medicine to then come back and help people to actually prevent and or reverse chronic illnesses, because all those things that you listed that I love to talk about and love to help people with are the illnesses that actually run in my family. And I knew that if I did not change something in my own lifestyle, that those would be part of my actual medical history. And to God be the glory, they have not. I actually have implemented these lifestyle changes over decades and am so excited to be able to share that. And just thank be to God that I'm here to talk, because I am an introvert. I like to read about things and then I implement them myself. And he's like, no, you need to come out and tell other people now. So that is what I'm out here doing.
I'm so proud of you. She is an introvert, a beautiful introvert, and she's a wealth of information. So I'm glad that you pushed past your comfort zone and you're having conversations like this live as well. So awesome. Now, Doc, we're talking about high blood pressure today. Before we go ahead and talk about how to treat it, can we talk about what exactly is high blood pressure? The word pressure comes, people feel like you have to have pressure and feel pressured to have high blood pressure. But what is it and why is it important for us to manage it?
So high blood pressure can occur from the stress that goes on from the blood vessels in your body, and it presses and opens up those blood vessels and causes your pressure, when we actually check it, to actually become high. So you have like your body naturally needs some type of pressure to push the blood through your system. But if it works too hard, then it becomes harder for the heart to pump out, and therefore your blood pressure becomes higher. It also can be due to calcification in your blood vessels, not just extra pressure, but inflammation or anything like that that's in the body, but actual calcification that builds up. And sometimes that happens as we get older. And it's so important to treat high blood pressure because it can actually cause other illnesses in our body. So we like to call high blood pressure the silent killer. So you said that it does not actually most time cause any symptoms for people. So most time people are like, I feel fine. Why do you say I need to be on medications or need to do something different? Because I don't feel anything. But it's actually causing damage inside your body. So if you think about it, like I said, the arteries, the increased pressure that is there, your arteries go all over your body. So your brain, your eyes, your heart, your lungs, your kidneys, your feet. And if we don't take care of those blood vessels, then we have trouble getting the nutrients that we need to all those vital organs. Okay. And so it can cause, strokes. It can cause you to be blind. It can cause you to have a heart attack. It can cause the pressure inside your lungs to be high. So people have pulmonary hypertension, which sometimes we forget about. It can cause your kidneys to fail. So it's so many things. Heart attack is so many things that if your blood pressure is not controlled, leads to so many other things that then can cause you to unfortunately pass away from it. And we call it the silent killer because you can have no symptoms until all of a sudden, or people say all of a sudden, but then you have a stroke or you have a heart attack. And they're like, well, I didn't have any symptoms, so I thought it was fine. But your first symptom may unfortunately be the one that kills you. So that's why we want to actually have you get your blood pressure checked and checked on a regular basis and treated if it is actually high.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that and emphasizing that. And, I would delve more, maybe a little later on the faith aspect too, because sometimes I've had conversations with people who say, no, I don't have it in Jesus' name and stuff. And get upset or like, no, you're pronouncing this on me. So we're going to touch base on that, but before we get to that point, can we talk about some of the main risk factors for developing high blood pressure, and then we'll go from there.
Yes. So the first thing I would tell people is like, you definitely can have genetics. So genetics can play an important role in your blood pressure. Like I said, in my family, there's a lot of people with high blood pressure. So I know that I have that gene that actually can be turned on that can actually cause me to get high blood pressure. Also, lifestyle choices which we're talking about mostly today, is a high thing for blood pressure that likely can cause. If you have kidney disease, it can actually work either way. So whether you have high blood pressure that causes kidney disease or you have kidney disease for another reason, that can cause you to have high blood pressure. Let's see. Obesity. So actually having a diagnosis of obesity can actually increase your risk for blood pressure. If you have any type of heart issues, that also can cause you to have high blood pressure. So smoking also increases your risk for having high blood pressure. I would say diabetes increases your risk for having high blood pressure. I mean, I'm trying to think all these things. So many different things can actually contribute to why you have high blood pressure. Sometimes people say even as we get older, that we can have an increase in blood pressure. But I can say that sometimes it's the progression of the lifestyle as we get older that can cause high blood pressure. So not just age in itself. So just because you're 80 years old does not mean you should have high blood pressure. There's actually studies that show people that live a what we call a healthy lifestyle, like in the blue zones, where we know of lifestyle medicine, that they actually do not have high blood pressure, even though that they're like in their 80s, 70s and 80s. So just age in itself does not necessarily mean that you have to have high blood pressure.
Awesome. Now, for someone who says, well, my mom had it, my dad had it, my grandma had it, it has to be genetics. And I want us to talk about it because sometimes it seems like because it's a family history, then it's nothing I can do about it. So what are your thoughts of someone saying, you know what, it's not my fault. I mean, it's genetics, most than likely. What do you say to that?
Yes, and I say definitely genes have a role in us developing certain illnesses. But like I said, I have for my own self, like I said, you have the option of turning that gene on or turning it off. And we can definitely make some changes. So those things like whether we smoke or not, how much foods we eat, the exercise, which we're going to go through, I think all these things, sleep, all these things that we do in our lifestyle can turn that gene on or turn that gene off. Now, there still could be, some underlying issues to where maybe a very small percentage of the population that no matter how well you eat or how well your lifestyle is, that you may still have high blood pressure, but that's not the majority of the people. I mean, I would say 5% of the population will probably be having blood pressure that's due purely to genetics, and no matter what you do, you may still need medication, but you may not need as much medication. So I always give people that caveat. Like, even if you do need medicine, the lifestyle things that you actually implement or don't implement can determine how much or how little you need.
Okay, I love it. So we do have a role. And so, because regardless of what the cause is, high blood pressure is not good. And that's the point I wanted us to emphasize for our viewers. So it may not be your fault totally. And it's not pointing fingers, is we may not know the exact cause, but it needs to be addressed regardless of what's causing it, even if it's genetics. And as Dr. Amanda said earlier, sometimes it's some of the lifestyle we've learned. I've learned to season with adobo, the bouillon. And for me, that's not salt. Growing up, that's not salt, that's seasoning, right? But one day I put the bouillon in my mouth and I'm like, oh my God, it's loaded with salt. And so I started to understand more that it may be called seasoning, but it's salted seasoning. So we're learning the things that help us, adjust. Okay. So let's talk about the lifestyle hacks. And I wanted to get specific. So I have someone who's watching, is like, what are you saying? We shouldn't season our foods. Like, you want us to eat bland diet, but how can diet influence our blood pressure, and what foods should we eat more of, and what should we avoid? But be kind, doc, be kind.
Oh gosh, this is always one that sometimes gets me in trouble with people. Um, so foods, we have to look at that. Like you said, there is a lot of food that culturally that we are used to eating, and I want to kindly say that may why that's all these illnesses run in the family, right? Because of the environmental things that we are doing, not necessarily just the genetics of our family history. So I always point out the foods that actually can impact our blood pressure negatively. And like you said, it is mostly sodium rich foods. And we may not, when I say, the first thing people always push back at me when I say that, they're like, I don't add salt to my food. I'm like, calm down. I know, because that's what we hear, that sodium is bad, so I don't add salt to my food. But I would just like to read to you from the CDC, the most common foods that have 40% or more sodium in there. Okay.
Ooh, okay.
So bread and rolls. And I, like, when I saw that, I almost,
shocking.
Yeah, I almost died myself because I love bread. Okay. My grandmother would make homemade rolls and I could just sit there and eat them all without anything else. Okay. So we think of that. So how much bread do we eat? Whether it's a sandwich or something like that. If we're just a roll on the side, or toast that we have in the mornings, something like that, you may consider. The next one will be cold cuts or packaged meats. Like the processed meats. These are big because people love their bacon. So like I said, this is where I get in trouble, where people are like, okay, bacon is full of sodium. Any of the cold cuts, so those deli meats, what I grew up on, the bologna, the sausages, what else? The bacon, hot dogs, all those things.
Loaded.
Yes, we have that. And then we have pizza, which I love pizza, so I understand people when I tell you this. Poultry, fresh and or processed poultry. So I always like to tell my people that say, oh, I don't eat red meat, I just eat chicken. And I'm like, that could be contributing to your blood pressure because there's a high amount of sodium in there. Okay, so you have to be careful. Soups, and then also snack foods. So we know, like the chips, pretzels, popcorn, pasta dishes. These are all the things that are listed on the CDC site. So we have to be very careful because we don't think of those things that, like you said, like how you made your food, like it was the seasoning that was already in there. And most of the time, it's not what necessarily we're adding to food. It's more of like what's already in some of the foods that we choose to eat. So packaged foods, boxed foods, you have to be very careful with all those foods. Okay. So you'll look at all those just to make sure the sodium content, and then also looking at the serving size. So sometimes it tries to trick you and you may think that, oh, it's not that much sodium in there, but how much of it actually are you eating? So we have to be very careful with sodium that's put in our food. So if you make fresh things, and then if you talk about the blandness of the food, so you're used to having salty, you're used to having sugar, you're used to having fat, that is just a different way of thinking, and actually trying to get your taste buds to revert back to how they originally were. So we're so used to like extra flavoring in our food. Not that it has to be bland, but it's just not hyper of these things. Okay, so if you actually taste the natural flavors of foods, and you actually get to doing that, your body will get used to that. And then, like you said, when you add something to your mouth, you're like, oh, that's way too salty, or oh, that's way too sugary. And you would actually like, whoa, I didn't realize how much it is. And so if you actually look at that, you'll actually be better off. So I know it's a transition point, but it definitely will help. And then you would be like, okay, I can season my food with other things like garlic or non-salt seasoning. There's a lot of different things out there. They have like turmeric and cumin that you can use that actually can help flavor food. You can actually add in different peppers and all these types of things that can actually bring more flavor to your food than just adding salt all the time.
I have great questions here. I'm gonna address them. So those of you who are watching, please hang on there. But I want to say this. It's true about the flavor. Now my background is Nigerian. We're big on flavor. So curry, thyme, your turmeric, your white pepper, the bouillons, the broth used to enhance flavors. Like we're big on it. And initially I thought that was going to be a big deal. But one of the things I found that over time, as I put less salt, my taste was adjusted. But like now, if I cook rice, I put a little olive oil, slice some onions, put some cilantro to give it flavor, and put the salt at the tail end of the cooking, so I wouldn't have to put too much of it. When you cook salt, it loses its saltiness, so you have to put more. So these things, your taste buds actually adjust. I promise you, I'm still enjoying good meals. I'm just not using as much salt. I'm learning to use other flavors to help. Now, back to the questions. I had two good questions. This is a good question. And Dr. Amanda talked about looking at your nutrition facts. That's where most people, I think, it can be a struggle, because I used to avoid looking at it too. But look at it, see how much salt in it. The recommendation is usually less than 1,300 milligrams a day. So if it already has 1,000 milligram in the whole bottle, then it's a lot. So this is a good question. She says, and thank you, Mr. Keke, for asking this. How about green olives and dill pickles? They're veggies, right? Doc, what did you say about it? Be kind, Doc. Be kind.
So you still would have to look at like what they're doing to these things. So so the pickle is a cucumber, right? That they actually changed. So what did they do to the cucumber to change it to a pickle that will make you want to eat it? So it doesn't matter what it is, but the way that it's actually presented and packaged for you. So if it's processed in any way or sodium added or something added to it, then it probably makes it not as healthy. So I would use that same example as people saying they use ranch for broccoli, because they want that flavor. So whatever you're looking at, if you're changing it from its original form and taste, then that can make it a little bit harder to say that it's healthier. But you just have to look closely at the amount of extra stuff that they add to it. Like, because I don't know green olives that well. Never really ate green olives, so I never looked at that actual packaging to see how that actually looks. But I'm sure you can actually look at that and see if it's actually a lot of salt content. So I can't say I can speak on that as much.
You know what I did? I just Googled the dill pickle nutrition facts.
Mm-hmm.
So I wish I could share it, but I'll have to download it and do it. It'll take time. But on the typical pickle, like dill, it has in one medium size, so 3/4 inches long, it contains 785 milligram of sodium, one piece. So it already contains about a third of what you should have in salt in one day. Just the one pickle. I
And
don't
who
think
has
it's
just
yeah, just the one. So by the time you eat the whole thing, you're eating. So it's good to look and see, and it's very. And the beautiful thing I love about the food industry is that they tell you what's in it, so you can see. So the pickle, if you taste a cucumber, it's bland. It doesn't have salt. So for it to be pickled, they had to have had a lot of salt in it. So it may be something you enjoy. Maybe do less of it. Start there, but start looking at okay, this may be a higher source of salt than I think.
right. So then you have to pick and choose which ones do you want to continue to eat and which ones you'll give up. Because I know some people have certain foods that they just love. And usually I try to work with patients and clients like, okay, what is your non-negotiable right now? And see what else we can get rid of otherwise.
Yes, yes. And this could equate to less medicines, less potential side effects. You save money too. Okay. And you don't get to see us as often. That's why I tell my patients you don't have to see me as much if you do the things. Okay. All right.
Right, put me out of a job. That's what I tell people. I give them that challenge. Put me out of the job.
All right. Now I have another question. It says here, Doc, what do you think about people saying that blood pressure is not a salt problem, but a sugar problem? Can you speak to the interplay of the two?
So what I would think when they're talking about that they may be talking about the inflammation from the sugar, or if they're referring to like having the diabetes that can increase your risk for high blood pressure. So again, when we talk about the high blood pressure and what it does to your actual arteries, so sugar definitely can play a role with causing inflammation. So I would think that it would be, if you look at more of it, is an inflammatory problem. So sugar and salt can cause inflammation in the blood vessels, then yes, that definitely would be true. So it
All
would
right.
be both, not either or.
All right. Awesome. Thank you for answering that. And good question, Ms. Isabel. I have another question here. I'm going to ask you exercise. So, high blood pressure. One would think that exercising raises your blood pressure because it's is. But what are your thoughts as far as exercise and how it can help in lowering blood pressure?
So I would look at it in a couple of ways. So one, we have the 10,000 step rule, if we think about that with the American Heart Association. So we want to actually make sure that we're actually moving throughout the day. And I say that because I had an issue with this myself, but people will tell me that they exercise like 3 days a week with walking. Well, and then they're sitting the rest of the day. We can't use that as a way to decrease your blood pressure if you're only doing it 3 times a week for 30 minutes. Okay. So we want to be actually active throughout the day. So that's where the 10,000 step rule comes in. And then on top of that, we have actually exercise, which we think of as a actual scheduled time to do a specific activity, and it actually gets your heart rate up. Okay. So it's not just like, oh yeah, I walked around Walmart shopping. That's not exercise. Okay. We want to say that we like walked up a hill for 30 minutes or walked, around the block that included hills. And it was kind of hard for us to talk, but we could talk. Okay. So that's what we want to consider exercise. And if we do that, we want to do at least 150 minutes per week of that. And that's what we call moderate to vigorous exercising. And that's 150 minutes a week on top of the 10,000 steps. Now that can be included in your 10,000 steps, but we just don't want to say 10,000 steps just. So this is for blood pressure, to lower blood pressure. If you're just talking about just health in general, that's where they talked about the 10,000 steps. Okay. Then we also want to consider weight resistant exercising, which actually helps for us with weight loss and actually blood pressure. So I talked to that because we talked about how obesity contributes to your blood pressure being high. And a lot of women forget this because they're thinking that they lift up a weight and they're becoming like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I tease them with that. I'm like, there's no way you're going to have that much muscle, right? It's like it takes a lot to develop that much muscle, but you want to look at how it's actually helping your heart muscles and the rest of your muscles in your body, not to necessarily build up like a bodybuilder. So you need that anywhere between 12 to 40 minutes in a time span. And you want to do that 2 to 3 times a week. Okay. So activity with the 10,000 steps, at least the 150 minutes per week of moderate to vigorous exercise where you're getting your heart rate up. And then don't forget your weight resistance training. And it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to be a lot of weight. You can start at 2 to 5 pounds if you're not used to weightlifting, and then trying to increase that. I also would like to say that you cannot keep doing the same exercising for years. You have to kind of switch it up. So I would say if you've been a person that walks every night for 30 minutes and you're expecting for your blood pressure or your weight to change, sometimes you have to do little things a little different. So maybe after you've been walking for a while, you're used to doing that. Like I said, try to add an incline to it, or try to do a little jog for like 30 seconds to a minute, something like that. You don't have to run a marathon, but just try to switch it up for your body to actually say, oh yeah, I'm still working. This is not leisure. I'm not used to this. Just to kind of give your body that. And it's for blood pressure. It's also for life training, because like Dr. Ola Benton said at the beginning, we want you to have a good quality of life, not just the quantity of life. So if you think about you doing that now, time you're 80 and 90 years old, you're going to be running laps around, your 20-year-old grandchildren.
You be around doing the things that make the most sense to you and you enjoy the most. So beautiful. Thank you for the tips. Now, Doc, stress is often linked to high blood pressure. So for, life is lifing. So what are easy tips? Okay. All right. See, viewers, I'm trying to help us. Easy tips that can help with stress management, knowing that it is linked to high blood pressure.
Yes. So as I talked about in the beginning of, just how we can use God, because like I say, I'm Christian, I use that relationship, and we need to actually do things that on a daily basis that will reduce stress. If we wait till we feel like the casket is blown off, then we're kind of behind the 8 ball there. So we need to do things that are actually going to daily decrease our stress. So meditation, prayer at the very beginning of the day definitely will help. And actually, there's a small study that showed when people were in the ICU, when someone came and prayed over them, their blood pressure came down. So I definitely believe that prayer works. And you mentioned this before. I don't know if you wanted to come back to it later with faith, but that our spiritual health plays a big role into our physical health and vice versa. So we need that to actually go on. And you can actually do the meditation throughout the day. So there's scriptures that I definitely have people to meditate on. Cast your cares upon the Lord because he cares for you is a big one. So if you think about that, if you release those thoughts some way, somehow, and just not have them build up, and you don't actually worry about them and keep actually meditating on the negative, you're actually going to relieve the stress. Okay. So other things that you can do that's not necessarily related to scripture is breathing. I noticed that even for myself, when I feel stressed, I kind of hold my breath, even though like you're talking, you're doing stuff like you're holding your breath and everything is tight. You want to actually just take a few slow, deep breaths and relax your body. And you actually see like stress will leave because you're like, okay, why was I like tensed up? Let me relax, let my shoulders down, let my stomach release, let my legs release. Another big one that I was working with a coach that did for me that I thought was the best ever is just laugh.
Mm-hmm.
Laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And you say there's nothing funny about this, there's nothing to laugh about. But if you make yourself laugh, you just start like chuckling, you will just start laughing uncontrollably because you'll say, oh, this sounds silly. What am I doing? And then you're just going to laugh, and you're going to laugh hard. You're going to laugh for real. And then you're going to be so much more relaxed. It is awesome. I actually tell people right now that's watching this live, I want you to start laughing, just like doing that. Keep doing it and see if you don't just start laughing for real. Like, it is amazing. I actually love that.
Doc, it's, and sometimes, some of these things I used to think was, woo-woo, frou-frou stuff like, oh, you don't know the stress I'm going through. Knowing how stress can affect your blood pressure, these are things you can do to dissipate, to break off and release the stress that can lead to higher blood pressure. And I wanted to share this. My verse is Psalm 23:1, TPT. The Lord is my shepherd. I have all I need. So I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to look out for it. I receive it, the helpers, the advice, the wisdom, the tips that he's going to send my way.
Yes.
That is very, very, very powerful. And I want to encourage any one of us to, sharing this as well, knowing that we don't do life alone. Be encouraged so that those burdens we carry that are not ours to carry, we let go. We do our part in it and we let the rest go. So that's
Mhm.
that's the emphasis. And I wanted to I wanted to share that, Doc. So powerful, powerful, powerful. But I don't want us to forget the faith issue. We talked about, you know, you know, believing in God and saying, I don't want to take blood pressure medicines. I believe I'm healed. When you come to the doctor's office, your blood pressure is 180 over 100. And, I've had patients come see me because I believe in Jesus and they say, well, I reject that. And I say, I reject it with you. But, Doc, I don't want to say too much. What are your thoughts and how do we encourage people to take their blood pressure seriously, even as they walk by faith?
Yes. So that is so good because I actually talk to people about that too. So then again, I try to understand where they're coming from. And because I do a lot with lifestyle, I then ask them, okay, what are you doing as far as your eating, your exercising, your sleep? We didn't mention sleep, but sleep plays an important role too. But then they'll tell me, and I'm like, well, those things are actually contributing to your high blood pressure. And if we don't change those, then that's not going to help. And God gives us the free will to do what we want with our body. And in the perfect setting in the Garden of Eden, we were eating fruits and vegetables, right? We did
Yes,
not have
ma'am.
stress. We were there. So in this world right now, we have different things coming at us. We are actually fighting a spiritual warfare, and we actually need to be on top of it. It's like if we are soldiers for the army of the Lord, we have to be in tip-top shape. So if you think about that, and if you're like a person in the military, if you believe in God, you're actually here to actually do the work. You cannot do that if you had a stroke. You cannot do that if you have a heart attack. You cannot do that eating bacon. I always go back to bacon because people love bacon, and I love to kind of like pick at them there.
Attack the
And
bacon, baconator. Okay, sorry.
yes, but I usually like try to emphasize that and say, if this is like God tells you to use your body as a temple, if you were to stand like right now, Jesus here, and you told him, yeah, I know my blood pressure is high. I know my doctor that also believes in you is telling me that I need to do this. That no, I just think you're going to heal me. And I never tell someone that the Lord is not going to heal them. He can do that, but he also uses other means. You cannot tell him he has to heal you by
Right.
just coming down and getting rid of your high blood pressure, because most of the time, like I said, 95% of the time you're doing something that's causing that, and he is not going to impede on your will of what you're doing to your own body. So he made me to come here to help you to actually get better. So I tell them stuff like that, and they're like, yeah, I understand what you're saying. And I was like, hey, I don't like medicines either. So let's talk about this bacon that you're eating. Let's talk about you not exercising that's causing these things. Let's talk about your sleep and your stress. And we can do things that help with that. But in the meantime, if your blood pressure is 180 over 110, I can't have you leave this office and have a stroke. So we're going to start you on medicines while you work on these lifestyle changes, and then we'll have you come back while we get you off.
I love
And
it.
with a smile.
I love it. And we can pray that the medicines work too, because we're not trusting in the medicine, we're trusting in our faith in God, right? And
Mhm.
then two, Jesus walked. He didn't drive everywhere. He exercised, he walked around doing good. And he slept in a storm. So he didn't do the anxiety stuff. In the storm, he
Yes,
managed
yes.
stress. So we can take those things also from his lifestyle
I
too.
love it.
And I'm glad for the gift of medications in this season. People are living longer, but we're
Mhm.
going to continue the things we know to do, based on the work we do on ourselves, and partner with, it's a God man relationship or God man partnership. So
Yes.
give me a high five, Doc. This is good. Give me a high five. This is good. This is good. This is
Yes.
good. All right, let me see. It's past 7 o'clock. Okay. Oof. All right. Last question before we wrap up. For someone who's watching, like, I want to stop my medicines. I've watched you. Now I'm going to start exercising. I'm going to manage stress. I'm going to sleep well. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to take my prayer life seriously. And I'm going to stop my medicines right now. Doc, what do you say to them?
Okay, we never want to just stop our medicines right now. We want to actually see how things work out. So I tell you to follow closely with your doctor. And I had the pleasure just yesterday of demedicating people because of their lifestyle changes with other medications to help with weight loss. And we actually started to back off their medication. But you actually have to prove that you actually have made the changes to then see that your blood pressure goes down to safely remove the medications. I was overly excited to actually tell her that, and she was actually excited too. We decreased several medicines, actually took a couple away. But you actually know, and it is okay that even if you don't have an appointment like with your doc, if you have a way to message them, say, hey doc, I'm going to be doing this. And usually I say, make sure you keep an eye on your blood pressure, send your blood pressure readings. We can actually talk about how to start to decrease your medication safely. Because one, if your blood pressure goes too low, you probably will feel worse than when your blood pressure is high. So that's just number one. You'll get dizzy, lightheaded, feel very tired. So you'll be wanting to check your blood pressure and then have that actual satisfaction of saying, hey doc, here's my blood pressure. Let's start to decrease that medication. And if you have someone like me or Dr. Overbitton, we will be happy to decrease your medications for you.
Gladly. and that's the win for you. Less medicines, less doctor visits. We love you. We love seeing you, but we don't want to have to see you more than we need to for your health. So this is good. And this is possible. But please discuss with your doctor. Okay, I'll take one more question. He says, is there a correlation between high blood pressure and high cholesterol? What are your thoughts, Doc?
So when I look at that, I would say that they can definitely occur together. And I would look more at the inflammation in the body and the foods that you're eating. So foods that I mentioned that were high in sodium, probably most of them also are high in cholesterol. Like not every single one, but some of them are high in cholesterol. So they can go together. Yes.
Yeah, they can, because cholesterol also causes a plaque around the blood vessels that lead to decreased opening in the blood vessels that increase the pressure of the blood going through. So there's a link. So be encouraged. We're not out to get your food. Trust me, we want to enjoy a good quality of life so we can live long and well. Doc, this was good. We definitely have to come back because I did not do half of the questions, and we're at 7:07. But for someone who's watching, and you can see the comments in the chat, thank you those who asked very good questions. I like the engagement on this group. For those who are watching who are like, oh, Doc, I don't know if there's hope for me. I don't know if I can do this. Any last words of encouragement before we wrap up?
You can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. You can do it. You can do it. It just takes intention and to know that you don't have to be perfect. You just have to take the first step, and you can actually be successful with it. And you can find people that's there to support you, and you will make it. Like I said, even if it's not perfect, you're going to make progress, and we're going to love you for it.
Yes, and we have happily helped patients get off blood pressure medicine, so it's possible. Thank you so much, Doc, for coming. For those who are wondering, I like this Doc, Dr. Amanda. I've seen her before. I think this is her third time coming. I'd love to see her again. Doc, where can people find you to connect with you, to work with you, to learn about some of the programs you offer that help with healthier eating? Yeah.
Yes. So you can go to my website at www.dramandamd.com. And luckily for you all, I actually have one of my little 5-day cleanses that starts at the end of the month, where people can just get that first start and see, how you like to make those changes in your diet and see actually how good you feel in just 5 days. So www.dramandamd.com, and you can find everything about me there.
All right, awesome. I'm putting it at the bottom of the page. She also has a YouTube channel. She didn't say that, Doc. She has a YouTube channel. She has a
well, you can get to everything from my website.
From your website. Oh, got you. You were saving time. My bad. Okay. So there it is, www.dramandamd.com. Thank you, sis. This was good. This was powerful. You will definitely be coming back again. Praise God. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, awesome. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate the engagement. This is good. I am encouraged to see that many of you are going to be making new lifestyle changes that help move you forward. As always, if you or anyone you know is looking for an awesome, a thorough, and a compassionate family physician that will help you get off medicines, I am she. Please share this video in your networks with those who could be encouraged by it. Have a good one. Thank you so much, Doc. This was
Thank
good.
you.
This was good. Ah.